Today we're going to cover something very interesting, and here it is. This is the ASRock X570 Steel Legend motherboard, which supports AMD Ryzen CPU's second and third generation in fully, of course. I'm going to conclude some tests on the motherboard alongside with the AMD Ryzen 5 3600X. We're going to do some speed tests on the SSDs, on the RAMs, well, of course, overclocking on the RAMs, and we're going to check the temperatures, of course, on the VRMs as well to get some more insight on that. Basically, this is going to be a detailed version, detailed review and overview of the X570 Steel Legend from ASRock. So let's first start with technical specifications. The ASRock X570 Steel Legend comes with 2-ounce copper and premium 60A power choke, XXL aluminum alloy heatsink, Nichicon 12K black caps, and yes, this motherboard is made from glass fabric PCB. Motherboard has 2x PCIe 4.0 x 16, 3x PCI Express 4.0 x 1 slots, as well as 2 Hyper M.2 slots and 1 M.2 key for Wi-Fi and Intel Gigabit LAN for connectivity. Supports memory speeds up to DDR4 4666 plus OC mode. It is compatible with AMD Quad Crossfire X for multi-GPU configuration. Then we have the 7.1 channel HD audio Realtek ALC 1220 audio codec with Nichicon audio caps and a cool thing, the flexible IO shield. Of course, can't forget the ASRock Polychrome RGB. Now let's talk about the connectivity on the IO panel. We have DisplayPort, we have the HDMI, we have one USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type A port, that's 10 gigabits per second, supports ESD protection, has USB 3.2 Generation 2 Type C port, 10 gigabits per second, supports ESD protection as well, 6 USB 3.2 Generation 1 ports, supports also ESD protection. Then we have 5 3.5mm color-coded audio jacks with a single SPDIF optical output, which are driven by Realtek ALC 1220 HD audio codec, and of course we have the Ethernet port as well. Now let's check the packaging. On front you basically can imagine how it will look when you open the box and you check the motherboard. At the back side of the package you have all the special features that they like to point out for you. So dual Hyper M.2 slots, you have the steel slot with new generation PCI Express 4.0, 10 power phase design, and flexible integrated IO shield, what I already mentioned. Now we're going to unbox it and we're not going to lose any time on the whatever we were going to lose time. The box is actually really huge, so I'm expecting loads of stuff inside, or at least a cool looking board, which I already know it is. By the looks, of course, we'll have to test the rest. Okie dokie, we have the software setup guide right here, so how to place your RAMs and everything. You also have the quick installation guide, which kinda isn't quick, but it's basically on almost every language. So yeah, that's okay. We have here driver with DVD. You have, if you want to brag to your friend, you can send him a postcard with the ASRock Steel Legend logo here. So yeah, this is something cool. Actually, I've never seen this before, so yeah. You have one screw for the M.2, you have another one. You have here 2 SATA connectors, 90 degrees angled, and you have 2 more over here, which one of them is also 90 degrees angled. You have M.2 standoff, another M.2 standoff, and another screw for your M.2. So basically this is it. This is all you get. This is not the motherboard that has the Wi-Fi in it or Bluetooth or anything, so you don't get special antennas for that. And there we go, guys. I mean, the board looks really amazing, and with the ASRock Polychrome sync, I just can't wait to plug it in. Basically standard 4 slots DDR4 up to 4666 megahertz. You have two slots which are AMD Crossfire X supported, and they're up to 16. These are PCI Express Gen 4. You have two M.2 slots with the passive cooler, and you have a fan over here, which I think it does get a bit cooling support right here on the passive ones, but we will check that. You have 8 ports right here, 8 SATA ports on the right side. You have 4-pin EPS. This is the ATX 12 volts 1, and this is the ATX 12 volts 2 connection. So basically 8-pin EPS and 4-pin EPS. You have 6 connections for your PWM fans, standard 24-pin for your motherboard. You have 2 USBs 3.2 generation 2, which one is type A and one is type C. At the bottom you have standard connections for the power on switch, reset switch, HDD LED, reset LED. No, there isn't reset LED, HDD LED and power on LED. You have 2 USBs 2.0 here at the bottom for connecting, I don't know, controllers, or front USB 2.0 if you by some accident have those. On top here and right here on the bottom you have 4-pin 12 volts RGB connections for polychrome sync, and that's about it. HD audio here is on the far left. 3 PCI Express 4.0 times 1 are right here, and you have the M.2 Wi-Fi connection right here for your slot to connect it. I already placed the AMD Ryzen 5 3600X, so basically let's put it in a build. Let's put this Steel Legend in a build and let's run some tests. Okay, so when building a PC with the ASRock X570 Steel Legend, basically it was fairly easy to do anything. There wasn't any, complications, but it usually isn't. I'm just now talking nonsense. But as you can see here, we have the M.2 armor, which has 3 screws, so you have to remove all 3 of them, and then placing the M.2. Of course, removing the plastic cover for the thermal pads and getting, better passive cooling on the M.2. As some might say, it's not a big deal to prevent thermal throttling even without the M.2 passive cooling, but still, it's okay to lower the temperatures on the chips. So basically you have 2 M.2 cooling right here. The funny thing, not the funny thing, the cool thing about it, when you turn on the power supply, you get the ASRock polychrome sync, the RGB lights turn on the left here, and here at the bottom is Steel Legend. As you can see in the close-ups, it's actually really nice, and when you enter the BIOS, you could actually manage all these settings with the polychrome sync. Of course, you can manage the time difference between changing colors, so you could add 2, 3, 4 seconds as you wish. You could change the colors and everything, and the BIOS is actually very consumer friendly, because when enabling XMP, it gives you very easy access to getting to the RAM speeds that they are basically written on. So these were stock, I think it was 2133 or 2400, I'm not sure. Activating XMP1 automatically, just standard restarting computer and getting 3000 megahertz. So we did AIDA 64 cache memory read. We have 34,296 read megabytes per second. You have 19,199 megabytes. This is 4D memory. You have the L1, L2 and L3 cache. You can see that the CPU clock is automatically boosted to 4400 megahertz, 4.4 gigahertz. This was tested when, exactly, the DDR4 was at 2400. Now, when we activated the XMP, enabled the XMP, you can see the difference in the read and write speed. So the read is 42,300 and the write speed is almost 24,000. The processor is at the same clock, 4.4 gigahertz, automatically boosted, and the dual channel DDR4 3000 megahertz. When it comes to Cinebench R15, we got in multi-thread 1649 points from Cinebench, which is quite alright. And then we go to the single core, single thread, we get 200. Cinebench R15 for the graphic card, you get 158.75 FPS. And in CPU-Z you can see here the cache, the CPU, which was already at the boost clock for almost 4.4 GHz. We saw even above on the other one, on the other screen. You can see normally the voltage. And with system stability test on AIDA 64, we were actually stress testing the GPU and the processor, and of course we also had the temperature test on the passive coolers on the VRMs. Now the temperatures weren't going high on the VRMs. Well, basically I couldn't access with the laser directly in the VRMs, but the temperatures on the passive coolers were around 36. It wasn't actually, you know, when you have those passive coolers and when you stress test everything, the temperatures tend to get high even on the passive coolers and you can't even touch them. This time it was just a decent temperature that won't affect anything. The surroundings were a bit higher, as you can see, but nothing too awful, and basically not awful at all to worry about something. When it comes to stress testing the processor, we had 76, around 71 to 80 depending on the load on the processor, and the GPU was running, well, the GPU is not important right now. So basically everything was running smooth, no problems whatsoever. Before the conclusion I had to take it out of the build just to show you again, because, well, basically you can't see it so clearly in the case. Now for the pluses that I added for the motherboard is definitely, that's the one thing that kind of, imagine doing a water cooling build and you forget an IO shield. It's already attached, it's flexible, I would add that as a plus. Definitely stock and overclock performance. The active cooling for the south bridge, which you don't hear actually, and it gives a bit of a cooling, and I think it spreads a bit on the M.2, the Hyper M.2 slots, without a doubt. 8 SATA ports, that's a plus, and, well, USB ports on the I/O part here on the motherboard. Definitely you can't argue having more USB ports, right? Now, adding one more thing, the BIOS is really, as I said, intuitive and friendly. People who needs to do something in BIOS, like turning on the XMP, overclocking slightly, anything that you need to do is really easy to access, to check. You just have to read, and that's all there is to it. The last thing, which is basically the most important thing, with all these specs and all the pluses that I mentioned, the X570 Steel Legend has a really decent price for this kind of board. I mean, also, I'm forgetting this, I know you guys love RGB, the Steel Legend has the polychrome sync, which, I mean, it has a nice aesthetic, a nice design, it has the RGB, it has the possibility to look really nice if you really want it to be. I mean, you can turn it off, but what's the point of having an RGB motherboard if you're not using it? Nevertheless, it does look good, it does perform well, and definitely one of the suggestions. Now for the minuses, I would add only two things, which are actually pretty funny, since all the manufacturers have these and all the motherboards have these that are in the mid, high and premium range. So basically, if you want to access your M.2, change it, swap it, higher capacity or something like that, you need to remove your graphic card, you need to remove your passive cooler for the M.2, and then just remove it. If you're going in water cooling, then it's might be slightly different. Well, kind of no, because it's not lower, it's just underneath the top PCI Express card. But still, you know, if you populate both PCI Express slots, then you only have basically, I think, one PCI Express Gen 4 times 1. Who nowadays runs two graphic cards if they're not using it for professional use? So basically, I'm jumping in my mouth saying a negative thing, which kinda isn't if you're thinking before you do something. So yeah, basically that's it, guys. I really love this motherboard, the design, the functionality, the performance, without a doubt a cool board. So guys, thank you for watching. I'll put the links below for the ASRock webpage directly for the X570 Steel Legend, so you can check it out with more details if I missed something, and of course the links where to buy it if you want to buy it. Having a good X570 motherboard that is going quite alright with performance and everything I said before, and getting it for a nice price is definitely hard to find. So yeah, my definite recommendation. Thanks for watching. Click the like button, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell for future videos, of course, and see you next time, guys, in a new video. Bye bye.